everyone, what's happening? I have an amazing reflection for you this morning, and I'm so excited to share this because it's made such a big difference for me. And I've been on this path of development, exploration, personal development, whatever you want to call it, for about 10 to 15 years now. I lose track because I can't recall exactly when it started. But I want to say this. I've spent thousands and thousands of pounds on my own development. I've read all the books, I've been on the courses, I've had the coaching, I've obsessed, and I still obsess over finding ways to make myself better. And up until very recently, most of my journey was pretty much an internal one. And what I mean by that is, we read, we explore, we go on these courses, and we take away these useful insights and useful tips, strategies, techniques. But then Monday comes around, the next week comes around, and we fall straight back into our lives again, and nothing really changes. And I've been trying to figure out the answer to this for a really long time now. Like, why is that the case? And it occurs to me that we have to take action. It occurs to me that we have to do something. And now I've been told this before so many times, that we have to make the realizations real. We have to do something with them. But for me, I was conjuring up these grand images in my head of like going out and just going and trying to conquer the world. And that didn't really feel so good for me. And also, like, when you're used to not doing very much, how do you start doing something? Where does it begin? And I heard this speaker across the weekend I've just attended. And I heard a speaker, his name is Jon Dorenbos. He was an NFL player, and he's also a magician. He's appeared on America's Got Talent and speaks a lot about his journey. And he's got an amazing journey. And I won't say too much about on this video. You go and check it out for yourselves if you're curious. But one of the things that he said, or one of the things that he summarized that that really landed with me was, don't listen to yourself, talk to yourself. And I thought, like, what does that mean? What does that mean for me? And here's what I took away from that. So I'll say that again. Don't listen to yourself, talk to yourself. Now, so many of us are accustomed to listening to that voice that goes on in here that's saying, you can't do this, you're not good enough, you'll never get there, you don't have the money, you don't have the time. There's always a reason why it's not possible for us to do something. And so many of us are trying to change that voice. So many of us, and I'd be willing to bet that you at some point have tried to change something in your life to go from, some of this to some of this, metaphorically. So I heard that and I thought, well, how does that apply to me? How does that apply to my journey in my life? And how can I share that with other people? Because, that's what I'm about too. And the thing that I took away from that was, we sit and we make these incremental changes, and maybe the voice inside of us, over time, it does change, and it can. And so something that we found difficult doesn't become difficult anymore. Something that we struggle with becomes easy. Something that we might not have felt confident about, we overcome. Or we just understand the nature of how thinking works. But at some level, the identity that we have is still based on the person that we were that started this whole journey in the first place. So think about it. If you've been on coaching courses, if you've been on learning seminars, events, if you've read books, if you've done the meditations, or you've done other kinds of work, fundamentally, are you still the same person that you saw yourself as, that needed that healing, that needed that transformation, that needed fixing, or needed supporting, or needed help when you started your journey? Or are you seeing yourself as the person now that is in that position to share with others? Now, my suspicion is it's the first of those two things. So how do we get to the second of those? Well, this is where this quote, this phrase that I heard Jon saying came in. Don't listen to yourself, talk to yourself. What would happen for you if you took a moment in your day, every day, or multiple moments if you have the time, to be able to speak to yourself and speak out into the world in the way that you would if you had gone through that process of transformation that you were seeking. So if you had the confidence, if you had the resources, if you had the faith, if you had the knowledge, whatever it is, and the chances are you already have those things. So it's not like you're lacking them, it's just that you're not putting them to use. And at first, when I started doing this, I thought, oh, this feels a bit weird. But then I remember that everything that we do for the first time does feel weird. It feels weird because our nervous systems aren't used to it. We're tuned into a different frequency, if you like. We're tuned into a different way of being. And so all of a sudden, when we start expressing ourselves differently, we have this feeling that comes up that says, oh, this is stupid, you shouldn't do that. And that's just our mind saying, don't do that because there's danger over there. Stick to what you know, because that's where safety is. But at some point in the past, all of the things that we know now were new to us. And so we've been through this process over and over again, just like riding a bike or learning how to drive a car or something like that. It starts with us doing something, trying something new, giving ourselves permission for it to feel a bit weird and persisting until it becomes normal. So by speaking to ourselves, essentially what we're doing is we're talking in a way that overpowers that voice, that overcomes that voice. And that's not to say that we're trying to like convince ourselves of something that just isn't true, or, you know, I'm not suggesting that you act in denial of any of the circumstances that are going on in your life, but this is independent of circumstances. You can express yourself, and plenty of people express themselves in a positive, loving and kind way, even though their life around them appears to be falling apart. And there are plenty of people out there, I'm sure you've met some of them, who are not particularly nice on the face of it and don't speak very kindly or lovingly or with understanding at all. And they have everything that you think a human being could want in life. So what's the difference? Right? It's not the circumstance. It's your way of communicating with yourself. So what I'm suggesting here is not that you start talking to other people in the way that you would if you had achieved the things that you're seeking to achieve, if you had attained the outcomes that you wanted, if you had the feelings that you were trying to create in your body. You do it in your own company. You do it in those moments when you have some time at home and all of your family aren't there, or if you live alone, then great, do it as much as you can. You do it in those moments when you're driving in your car or you're walking in a place that's quiet and there aren't any other people, and you bring forth a different kind of voice. And I'm going to encourage you to look at some of the videos that I've made prior to this one, because they're not quite as animated, let's say. It's still me that's doing the talking, but I'm tapping into a different kind of resource that I have available. And the more I do this, and I'll be honest, I'm making these videos for myself as much as to serve others in making these changes. The more I do this, the more it becomes familiar, the more my nervous system gets used to it, the more I wake up in the morning and I'm able to tap into that place that's like, okay, I can speak like this, I can express myself this way, I can communicate this way, and I can inspire people to make the changes that I've struggled for such a long time to make. Because all it comes down to is just taking a really small amount of action. And as you start to speak it into life, as you start to give it life, you start to become accustomed to it, starts to feel familiar, starts to become normal, and then you start to act differently in the world out there when you're interacting with other people. And when you do that, you start to get different results. And I'd be willing to bet that you're looking for different results. I think everybody is looking for a better result or a different result of some kind. And that's not to say that the results that we have right now are problematic necessarily, although they might be. It's not to say that we're trying to move forwards because we're ungrateful for what we have, but it's because many of us have an inherent desire to be better. Many of us have a drive to improve the quality of our lives, to be able to give back some of the learnings that we've had, but we just haven't found a voice for that. We haven't found a way of sharing with people that not only inspires them, but gives us a sense of appreciation and pride and gratitude when we listen to our own voice and we think, oh yeah, that sounds good, I'd listen to that stuff. Because I'll be honest, I've listened to some of the videos I've made, and half of the videos I've made that I haven't published or hosted. And I thought, yeah, I'm not so keen on this. I'm not so sure. And I don't mean that in a critical way. I don't mean that to say like there's something wrong with it. Fundamentally, like I know I'm a good person. I know that I have huge amounts of value to share, and I know that you do as well. But it's being able to say that in a way which is engaging and empowered and has energy behind it. So this is an invitation for you to try that, just to give that some thought. Give it a go. Don't just think about it, do it, right? Speak to yourself in the way that you would want your future self to communicate. And that's the future self who has achieved the goals that you're moving in the direction of, who has gone through the transformation, who has gone through the healing. How would you communicate with the world if you were healed? How would you communicate with the world if you knew that you couldn't fail? If you'd achieved your wealth and your success and your abundance? And maybe by taking that small step, putting yourself in the position where you actually feel it for real in your body and you hear it in your voice, how you communicate to the world in that place, become familiar with it, you'll realize that you're so much closer to everything that you seek than you thought. And by doing that, you're taking a really small but significant step in the direction of everything that you want. Give it some time. Give it practice. 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, however long you've got. Start small. Speak to yourself in that way. See what changes. Let me know, because I'm here to help you get to that place. I'm here to help you speak from that place, to connect to the resourcefulness and the resources inside of you that bring out the inner genius, that bring out that inner wisdom and inner power and strength that you have, and you know that you have, but you might not be able to continuously, consciously tap into that. So this is step number one. I've got some amazing, inspired ideas that I'm going to share with you very soon, and I'm really looking forward to getting those out as well. So let me know how you get on, and we'll catch up soon. Peace.